Okay, welcome back to the forensic detailing channel, guys. I'm getting a bit of light flicker, especially when I'm on this dodgy wide angle thing. I get a bit of light flicker. Anybody know? I've tried playing around with the Hertz setting, but I can't get that to correct. Anyway, let's get on with the video. Don't forget to subscribe. So today we're going to be polishing this Porsche Boxster that's done 158,000 miles. Belongs to @Dan's Timeless Classic on YouTube and Instagram. Mad Danny. Sorry, Danny. Now, this 3D Speed is an all-in-one polish. What do you mean, all-in-one polish? I'll tell you what I mean. What I really mean. No, don't do humour. What I mean by all-in-one polish is it contains abrasives and protection in one, basically. So in this instance, this contains Montan wax, so that the abrasives work on the panel by removing clear coat and, you know, refining the panel and increasing gloss, getting rid of that fine related wash marring and haze and all that sort of stuff, even through to perhaps deeper sanding marks if you use this on a stiffer pad with a bit more pressure. So they should do a bit of cut and then they should break down and finish. Most of them are diminishing abrasives or a cocktail of different types of abrasives, but they should be able to cut and finish. Montan wax. What's Montan wax, John? Montan wax is a crystalline wax that's a coal derivative, I think, from my days of making wax. I used to use Montan oil in my wax blends because it was really nice and clear and gave a good gloss. Montan wax is there for its gloss. It is a really nice, shiny, crystalline wax. The downside of Montan wax is it's not very hydrophobic. So this won't be like a bead monster, this stuff. Indeed, it isn't. God, I'm good, because it uses Montan wax. Now, after you've worked it on a panel and you've, you know, taken away all that haze. What do you mean by haze? What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Willis? Sorry. So, if you look, yeah, you can see it, can't you? Like all that swirly, that's all I'm trying to do is get rid of all of that. Because when you take that out, it's all over this door. You know, when you take that out, it removes a sort of whiteness and opaqueness from the paint. And this wing has been polished and it just gives you that gloss. Now, this paint isn't perfect. It never will be. There's deeper scratches in it. I've done the bonnet, but there's a big deep scratch along here. Could you wet sand that? Maybe. I don't want to play around. There's a couple of big deep scratches over there. There's a couple of stone chips that have been filled up. You know, but under the light, that's completely normal, especially for a car that's done 158,000 miles. So really, our aim is just to go from that, and all swirly, you know, like we just demonstrated, to a lot more jet black, and if the camera sorts focus out, and just decent. And it's very easy to do. All you've got to do is a consistent polishing set on every bit of the paintwork of the car. You know, give it a good thing. Don't start turbo polishing. That's it. You know what a set of polishing looks like. You could literally, with this, do one horizontal pass, one vertical pass, but just nice and slow. And that's it. 2. Just give it a chance to work. What pad would you use with 3D Speed? Well, I'm using these Geon pads, polishing. The red ones are their cutting, but they're not aggressive cutting pads. So they're not going to really introduce any compound hazing or anything like that. Foam is good on that front. That's the polishing pad. So I'll just use it with this Geon polishing pad. It's quite dense foam, so you don't want it too soft where you can't give it any pressure. So these pads seem quite good. So that'll be absolutely fine. Now, when should you really use an all-in-one? Well, when you just want to do it quite quickly. The compromise is that the protection in the all-in-one isn't quite as good. And obviously with a cut and finish product like H3D Speed, you're not going to get as much cut as if you did a heavy cutting set. And you're not going to get as much gloss if you did a refining set. So 3D Speed will have like a heavy cutting compound and an ultra finishing compound. You'll get somewhere in the middle and hopefully the best of both worlds, but you'll also add your protection at the same time, and you just buff the product off. You can leave it on the panel a little bit because they tend to have solvents and water in them that vapes out, so it stiffens a bit on the panel. Read the instructions. And then when you buff, you're leaving a layer of protection which fills and adds gloss and adds protection, which is great. The downside is that protection is never as good as picking a dedicated protection product, in my opinion. I've not seen it yet. The Rupes Advanced, Rupes Uno Advanced probably has the best protection I've ever seen in an AIO, all-in-one. Here's an example of pure compounds like H8, heavy cut, medium finishing. Here's an example of a ceramic primer. So this is a non-abrasive, so it's not aluminum or aluminium as we say in the civilized world. It's not aluminium oxide based. Yeah, it doesn't have micronized aluminium oxide in it, powders. It's a material which has a slight abrasive effect itself, but it's more of a resin that you can put on and then buff, and it leaves a layer of resin that you can coat on top of. I always find it's good to use water-based products on top of this as well. Yeah, seems to work. That's not a polish. These are all glass polishes. Good old Poor Boy's Black Hole, the old classic. Look at the label. It's like something from years gone by. It is. Great little glaze, that is. You know, acrylic primer glaze. That's a wax and polish. That's a sealant and single stage. That's a finishing polish with wax in it. And that's a mid-range compound. So you hear all these funny little terms and words. You don't really need to be too intimidated with them. All-in-ones are really the best things for lots of people. You could argue if you're not massively into your detailing, you know, you're not a professional detailer, just want to shine your car up at home, then all-in-ones are absolutely perfect. But there's so much interest in detailing now. I think a lot of people like the idea of using pure abrasives and having the heavy hammer, medium hammer and light hammer, heavy cut, medium cut, light cut, and then degreasing and putting the protection of your choice and waxing on your car. People like that still, especially in the summer. So do I, but God, it's, you know, when you cut, that takes a long time. When you finish, that takes a long time. You've got to repeat everything twice then, so that's double the effort. And then when you go and put wax on every single panel, that takes a relatively long amount of time as well when you're going around the car. The less, you know, the ultimate aim is to go around it once and do everything. So professional detailers will love all-in-ones. And guys at home will love all-in-ones, but they're not always the most appropriate thing if you want to max out your results, as we've said. Now, how do you go about using this 3D speed? Well, it's really easy. I would just recommend you put it on a nice soft foam pad, although you can use wool now as single stage, but foam you can't go wrong with. It will finish out. Not too coarse a foam. If the foam feels it should be nice, dense and kind of reasonably soft. If it feels like really coarse, then that might not finish out quite as well as a soft foam pad. What do they say here on the instructions? What they're in? Okay, apply 4 to 5 dime-sized drops. I never know what that is. Work it at 1200 to 1500 RPM. That's for a rotary. So that just a medium DA speed between 4 and 5 will be fine. Work a 2x2 at a time. Yeah, back and forth motion. Yeah, but that's with the rotary. The slower you move the DA rotary, the more correction will be achieved. Yes, yes. So just 2 slow passes would be enough for me. Not because I won't continue to get better results if I keep going, but because it's diminishing returns versus time. So let's just, whenever you're using a new pad, just one end, just spin that up. Make sure it's not full of old polish. Give this a good shake. Oh. There we go. And this has a really, really good quality lid. Really doesn't put any polish anywhere if you're careful with it. And for some reason you don't get the old big like farts of polish coming out. And you can even, so it said 4 to 5 dimes, so you could say maybe do 5 with this because it's quite a dry pad, but you could just do this, like a real thin layer, a real thin layer, a real thin layer, and a real thin layer. And you could prime the pad properly and all that sort of stuff. That's quite a lot of polish, but it's a bone dry pad. So we'd put a little bit less on when we go again. When you're using all-in-ones, after each set, you can brush out. What you'll find is these will be more slimy than dusty, and this wax won't flush out of the pad as well because it's protection. If it flushed all out of the pad and broke down with water, it wouldn't be able to protect your car, you know. So it has to be that's the trade-off with them. They don't clean out of the pads good. When you are using these, if you're switching pads, make sure you've got a pot of water, you know, somewhere. And then before you dunk it into the water, just spray the pad with APC and then tear it off and put it into the water. And then that will stop all that wax drying into the pad. Now on this car, we've taped up, the rubber, because we're going to be polishing over that rubber. We would just be slamming rubber in there. Now we'll just do the easiest set here, because I've got one hand. I'll put this down there. So what we do is just in our 2x2, let's just get some of that pad all over there. We'll just put, it's not the best polishing square, is it? I'd go bigger than this. I'd do this door in two sets, because I'm rushing. But we'll do a nice YouTube set that's a nice size that makes me look like I'm not completely bodging it. So that's a nice 2x2. And if we put the camera down over here, you can still hear me because I've got my digi mic on. Let's just drop that there. Pop this here. No, I want you to see this. I want a good view of this. So let's pull this out. Let's pull this over here. Wow, rearranging the place. I want you to get a really good view. I like to show you a live set here. Give you a good sniff as well. I'm just going to blow my nose, so I'm not sniffing. I'm going to use these Wax is Dead cloths, which are very good. And I promise you, this will give you good results if you do this. I promise you. Really impressive. And there's no reason why you can't do this at home. What would you be scared of? You ain't going to be going through the clear coat. Not doing this anyway. So we'll just, now you could spread this. We'll spread it or someone's going to moan. Okay. So that just means we're not going to sling anything and we've got a nice fresh layer of polish all over the car. I'm going to crank this up to speed 5 and just do a nice slow set with 2 passes. So one horizontal, one vertical, or one vertical, one horizontal, doesn't matter. And just try and get into all of the paint, overlap at 50%. You could do a little bit less on these machines, but on a DA, probably at least 50% overlap because you get lifting around the edges. And the good thing about this is I can polish right up to the edge with this machine. I can just tilt and it won't stall out because this is a force rotation Flex XCE machine, which I love. And a little bit of pressure. Working already. One more. I'd normally go, you know, no point in leaving that little gap down there, but just for this demo I will. Remember, when you're polishing vertically like this, you've got no weight of the machine pushing onto the panel. So if you're polishing horizontally, you've got the weight of the machine. So this, you just want to push into it a little bit. You see that pad compress. Push into it a bit. Not mad, you're not using mad force, just a little bit. And just take your time. Don't speed up. It's the biggest enemy. Do not speed up. Okay? Speeding up. So that's it, that's done, right? And that's very easy, isn't it? One pass that way, good pass, and then another pass that way. That's done. I could keep going, but like I say, time is of the essence. What you want to avoid doing is polishing like this, you know, dab, 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 dab. you know, don't do that. Don't do that, because you're not going to be, there's no consistency to what you're doing. You know, it's just, and that's what you end up doing when you run out of time, isn't it? Turbo polishing. Don't do that. Don't do that. So, I love the fact you don't have to have any panel wipe or degreaser. I'll show you the results, but I'm not really inspecting. Whatever I get is what I get, unless there's something really bad that I think I can do something with. I'm just going to polish on each section and move on. So inspection is not something I'm going to really be doing. This is really important. I like the buff on this machine. I like the buff on it. If you try and cover too big an area, the buff is never as good. Like when you just do your polishing set properly, the buff is good. If you overwork it, crank the machine up, you know, use too much product and put too much heat in it, it can dry and become a bit thicker buff because it's waxy. It should be a good buff. It's lovely, that is. I'm so impressed with this product. Every time I use it, I'm like, I love this stuff. It's really good, but there's lots of good products on the market. There really is. I'm going to talk about that at the end, but I really do rate this stuff. I really do rate it. Yeah, let's just have a look at what we've done. So you know, there are still going to be marks in there. This little smartphone doesn't show those marks that well, so it probably looks absolutely flawless. And it's very good. It's very good. And what we had before was this, you know, and lots of polishes will do the same thing. So don't think, oh, wow, you know, wow. That's what lots of polishes will do. The thing that impressed me is really how it is to use, how it works on paint where the paint isn't great, you know, and it's not a nice experience, or it's not an easy car to polish. This is probably an easy car to polish, but I just know this is a good polish. I've just used so many. It looks great, it feels great, it buffs great, and it looks electric when you finished it. And I think that's because of that Montan wax, which is really cool. So I like that. I like that. And it's so easy. It's so easy. There's no one that can't do what I've just done. And all you've got to do is be reasonably disciplined. Don't try and bite off too big a chunk. He says, I'm thinking I'll do half that door next. And then I'll do that bit round the bottom that I've missed. I'll be round here in 5. I'll do that bit in 10. I'll be finished in an hour. Oh yeah, that's the temptation. Just try and be disciplined and good little consistent sets. 2 by 2, it's great to do that when you're starting, but I will be expanding that by a bit. I should listen to my own advice, really, because if you stick to your guns, you're guaranteed to get good results. You're guaranteed. The more you deviate, the worse the results are. Now, I want to talk about some things with this product. This offering here is 8 ounces, which is the American system, like this fluid ounce thing, which, you know, I understand it now. I just think of a fluid ounce is about 30 mil. So 8 fluid jibber jabbers is about 250 mil, near as damn it. So 16 fluid ounces is half a litre, isn't it? And then 32 fluid ounces is a litre. This 250 ml bottle is £12.99, which I think is really reasonable. I don't think you'll find, there it probably is cheaper, but I don't know. It won't be much cheaper if it is. That's a pretty good price. Half a litre is £22.99. I think from Imran into Detailing, he sells this stuff. And a litre is about 34 quid, 34.99. You might be able to get 10% off with the code Forensic. So if it doesn't work, then it's not discountable, because Imran's not making enough money on it. He can't give you any more. He's spending all day in his little warehouse putting things into his box. Imran, if you're watching, how you doing? Now, what was I going to say? Now, here's the thing. 3D as a brand, American brand, are quite up my street. What do you mean by that? You know, I like what I call technical brands. I'm less into the, you know, tropical watermelon I've been saying this for the last 10 years. What's it, tropical watermelon shampoos and like, you know, various, you know, mango, you know, anything based on fruits. I don't like in my detailing products so much. I don't dislike it, but lots of brands are looking for gimmicks. And I think that whole fruity thing, it's not just sweets, is it? It's like fruit, you know, it's like bubblegum scented stuff and all that. Yeah, it's fine, you know, if you like that. I don't. I'm a straight down kind of missionary guy, you know. Remember, what was that film, Weird Science? I'm not going to say that. I'll get shut down on YouTube, the line. And I see 3D and their products, and I see them as kind of no-nonsense technical brand where they have good products, and they make their abrasives in-house, which requires expertise and cost. And I love that, because if you can make abrasives in-house, then the detergent blends and stuff like that are going to be a bit easier. You can do that in-house as well, and that means that you're selling stuff which is unique, proprietary to them, and it allows you to be ultra competitive on price, doesn't it? Now, those prices I've winged out, you know, on the abrasives are reasonably okay for premium detailing products. If you go to the body shop, most body shops will use 3M, Frecla, or Raw, you know, something like that. Something where they'll pay like 20 quid, although the 3M stuff's gone up. But they like to pay about 20 quid a litre for the abrasives. So these at 34 are quite expensive, although the all-in-ones tend to be a bit more expensive as well. I'm rambling. What I'm saying, though, is a lot of times when American brands come over, the prices are completely skewed in the same way when the UK stuff goes over to America. The prices get skewed because of import taxes. But the prices of this 3D stuff, as far as I know, isn't skewed. So I don't know if they get around that by setting up in the UK or something, or how they get around it, but the prices are good. I won't really buy detailing products if I feel like I'm paying an extortionate amount, and I never have, and I never will do, and I've been consistent on that from day one, sounding like a politician. Let me be clear. Whenever a politician says, let me be clear, they're about to be unclear, aren't they? Same as whenever anyone says, to be honest, they're about to be dishonest. So I've been clear on that since day one. I have been. I don't like paying fortunes, and unfortunately some stuff comes over from America and it's just like, I'm not paying it. I'm not paying that. It's ridiculous. Why? When you have quality stuff in the UK. So if 3D are serious about denting this UK market, how are they going to do it? Because they're not going to be able to undercut 3M or Frecla and Raw, and they'll struggle to get into the body shop scene. They really will, unless they've got some major marketing clout, because all those brands are in with all the body shops already, and like the local suppliers and all that sort of stuff. So the danger for 3D is they just become a little niche thing that some people like, and they sit there with their website and get some of the distributors on board. They sell a few bottles to guys at home and some professional detailers, and there's some decent money in it, but that's no good to anyone. You want to go big. So how does 3D go big? And my attitude to going big is, if you're offering all these products, abrasives, surfactants, accessories, cleaners, mainly surfactants and degreasers and abrasives and various things, isn't it? Panel wipes, detail sprays, spray waxes, dressings. All of your offerings have got to be, you've got to give your customers a value. If you do not do that, you're dead in the water. And there's so many brands that can't see that. They cannot see it. They just look at margins and think, how much of a margin can I get on this product? I need the biggest margin possible. When you do that, you're only giving yourself value. If you're not giving the people at home value, you can fool someone once, but you can't fool them twice. You can sell to the uninformed buyer once, but that uninformed buyer won't be uninformed forever. Once he realises he's overpaid, he won't be coming back. So give people value, and you've got a chance of going viral with your product, and you've got a chance of people coming back. Value doesn't mean competing with all the cheap eBay chemicals and like cheap materials, but it means giving people some real tangible value. You know, some of the prices on some of this stuff are just utterly ridiculous, and the brands do not get it. Like I say, fool someone once, you'll do it. Don't expect to fool them twice, unless it's me. So 3D aren't doing that. They seem like their prices are pretty sensible. In fact, good for an American brand. But how do they go about really smashing that value proposition in the UK? Because it's difficult. I don't know if they can. I don't know if you know if it's possible. So I don't know what the future holds for 3D in terms of the UK. But I really like it, and I'm going to explore some more of it. Some of you told me they've got a good pre-wash, and I've said before, I've not seen a good American pre-wash, because Americans, they don't tend to have pre-wash. They call it foam, and it's just thick foam. And every American detailing brand sells you a thick foam shampoo that does absolutely F all to road film, and they're all the same. So do they actually get the idea of what a pre-wash should do? Have they made one that isn't full of sodium hydroxide and all the nasty stuff? It's another thing. This is another problem for 3D. In America, you can put whatever you like in your products. Absolutely, stick whatever you like in there. It doesn't matter. Like radioactive, it's fine. In Europe, you can't, and in the UK, you can't, even though we're no longer part of the EU. The UK REACH guidelines are quite strict. You have to, certain chemicals which are readily used in American products that we can't use so much over here. Sodium hydroxide is one of them, as far as I know. Anyway, there'll be some experts on that, but certain solvents as well. I think kerosene and stuff like that. There's lots of things that you can't use. So are they going to have problems because of that? At the moment, while it's low key, you can probably get away with it. Or are the products formulated to meet European requirements? They may well be. So this is all the sort of stuff that goes through my mind. But if I go scouting through the 3D range, which I'll probably do this evening, because that's the kind of sad guy I am, is there anything in there that catches my eye? Do I see any bargains? Do I see anything that can give me real good value? If I do, I'll explore it. Yeah. If I was in America and this stuff was cheap, I'd probably be using it, because it's sort of the sort of brand I'm kind of drawn to, like I said. So that's my thoughts on 3D Speed, guys. You get very informal stuff here on my thoughts, and my thoughts aren't always like, I just don't think like, wow, this is amazing, go and buy it. I don't treat you like that. I give you what I'm thinking and all the challenges, with 3D, what they've got to do to be desirable and actually to succeed in the UK. What I want for every brand is for that brand to succeed. It's not that easy though, is it? Because everyone wants to succeed. It's packed out marketplace. Some elements of this marketplace can be quite small when you're competing with more established brands that can outprice you. It's a very complicated, small sector that's fighting for your attention. There you go. And in the meantime, this little donut will be sitting in his garage, talking rubbish and polishing away on his little car. And I love talking about detailing. So there you go. If you're new to the channel, you can see how dodgy it all is back here. But when it's all done, it's going to look amazing. And yeah, the key thing I want you to take away is that using a product like 3D Speed on a little dual action polisher, like this cordless XC, brilliant, expensive but brilliant, is so easy. There's literally nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing really I can do wrong. I can make a bit of mess. I could miss some buffing and have some smears on the car, which will probably happen. I'm not going to be going through the clear coat. I'm not working it hard enough. This product's not aggressive enough. I'm going to be careful with rubber edges on this and the soft top. I don't want to get any polish in any of that. If I do, I'll get it sooner rather than later, and it'll be absolutely fine. Don't let it dry. That's it. Take care. Over and out. 30 minutes, Jesus. He didn't have talk for England, Doug.